They were involved with another person, not because you were not good enough, and not because you were simple to replace. The real reason was something inside them that was not prepared to face what was genuine standing right in front of them. And now they are carrying a message they can no longer ignore or keep quietly hidden inside. What they want to say is not easy to put into words, and it is not comfortable to release either, because while they were physically present somewhere else, a part of them never fully left you behind, and that quiet emotional truth has now become impossible for them to keep denying any longer. Have you ever felt like a real connection never truly ended, even when everything on the surface clearly said it was over? Something stayed unfinished and quietly present in the background of your mind all along, and you could never fully shake it. That is exactly where they have been living, not buried in the past, but in a space where truth was temporarily delayed and never fully erased. Real connection does not just vanish into nothing. It waits patiently, it remains steady, and eventually it gently asks to be seen clearly without any remaining doubt. If you want the full picture of why they came back with this urgent message after being somewhere else, hit like right now and stay with me through every word of this video. They chose what felt safe instead of what felt truly real. They moved toward what was familiar instead of what was quietly calling from deep inside them with real strength and meaning. They held on to what was easy to avoid instead of what could have actually changed them in a meaningful and lasting way. In doing that, they convinced themselves that comfort was the same as peace. Even though something within them kept quietly questioning that very choice, they stayed where things felt predictable, where emotions did not demand too much from them, and where they could stay in control without much real effort. But deep down, there was always a quiet awareness that something more meaningful had been quietly left behind. Something that required more courage than they were ready to give at that time in their life. And once that honest understanding began to settle within them, it did not fade away softly. It did not quietly disappear over time at all. It stayed with them in the moments they could not run from or distract themselves from easily. It showed up in quiet evenings, in the long pauses between conversations, and in the peaceful space where their thoughts grew louder than anything else around them. The feeling did not ask for attention, but it refused to be ignored by them. It remained present in a steady and quiet way, reminding them that something inside had been left unresolved for far too long. Comment still here if you are sitting with me all the way through this message, because what comes next goes even deeper into the real reason behind their quiet silence and their quiet return. No matter how much they quietly tried to move forward, this honest awareness stayed behind their every action. It quietly shaped how they felt about everything in their daily life. In the silence between conversations, and in the slow, quiet repetition of days that started to blend together into one another, they began to notice how little life was truly asking from them at that point. Everything felt manageable, but it also felt quietly limited, as if real growth had been quietly replaced with empty routine over the passing time. They started to see how much of their true self they had been quietly holding back just to keep things simple and easy to handle without any real challenge. They avoided deeper questions, they avoided stronger emotions, and they avoided situations that might challenge who they actually were deep inside their honest heart. Over time, this created a quiet sense of distance within themselves, a feeling that they were present in their own life but not fully engaged with it in any meaningful way, and that quiet distance slowly became impossible to ignore any longer. What they had with the other person may have looked stable on the outside, but it did not carry the same depth, the same meaning, or the same emotional weight as it did before. What they shared with you had something different, something that reached deeper and stayed far longer in their heart. And things that are truly meaningful do not disappear just because someone physically walks away from them for a quiet while. They remain present in the quiet background of the mind, waiting patiently to be gently acknowledged without any pressure or demand. They do not demand attention, but they do not fade either over the passing days. Over time, these quiet feelings begin to slowly rise again, not in dramatic, loud ways, but in subtle and persistent reminders that something deeply important had once truly existed between you. At some quiet point, they completely stopped pretending to themselves. Not in one sudden dramatic realization, and not through a loud moment of forced clarity either, but slowly, quietly, and honestly, in a way that felt both real and uncomfortable at the very same time. They admitted that they were never fully alive in the place they chose to stay in during that whole period of their life. Something important had always been quietly missing, even if they tried their hardest not to clearly see it before. They recognized that no matter how much they tried to convince themselves they had moved forward, a part of them was still emotionally unfinished and unresolved with you. This honest awareness did not come with any ease at all. It came with a quiet inner honesty that gently forced them to look at their own decisions without excuses, without hiding, and without blaming anyone for the outcome. Type yes if you want me to reveal the real reason they could not fully leave you behind, no matter how hard they honestly tried. Once they came to truly and deeply understand this, they realized they had never given that real connection a fair and honest chance in the past. Not because it lacked meaning or real value to them, but because it required real courage from them in order to grow. It required a level of emotional openness they were simply not prepared for at that lonely point in their journey. The kind of courage that quietly asks a person to show up without any form of protection, to face the real possibility of rejection, and to truly allow themselves to feel deeply without knowing the honest outcome ahead of them. It meant quietly risking emotional pain, risking real change, and risking becoming a completely different person because of what they felt quietly inside. Instead of courageously stepping into that meaningful space, they carefully stepped away from it, choosing quiet safety over real emotional growth in that lonely moment. Even though a quiet part of them knew exactly what they were gently leaving behind, now that honest awareness carries a meaningful message they could not openly express to anyone before. It is not perfect in its shape, it is not carefully arranged, and it is not asking for sympathy from anyone at all. It simply exists as a quiet and steady truth within them that they cannot ignore or quietly push aside any longer in their life. They truly understand now, and they can clearly see what you gently represented in their life with completely new eyes. They quietly recognize that what they were avoiding was never truly you as a person, but the deeper hidden parts of themselves they were not yet ready to face honestly in the mirror. And that honest realization quietly shifts something deep inside them in a truly lasting and permanent way. It changes how they see their past, it changes how they see their choices, and it changes their quiet understanding of what truly mattered most to them all along their journey. It is not a loud, dramatic change, but it is a permanent one that stays clearly with them. Because once a person clearly sees their own quiet avoidance, they cannot unsee it no matter what happens next in their life. They cannot return to pretending that nothing ever happened, and they cannot pretend that it honestly did not matter at all. Whether they choose to reach out to you or remain completely silent, something deep inside them has already changed in a truly lasting way. The quiet illusion they were living in has broken apart completely, and that honest collapse brings both real discomfort and clean clarity to their mind at the very same moment. It quietly forces them to sit calmly with the honest truth of what they avoided for so long, and to fully accept the emotional weight that gently comes with that honest awareness every single day of their life from now on. There is no easy way to escape it once it becomes clear and undeniable inside their quiet thoughts. What you need to hold on to is this simple, honest truth above everything else in your own heart. None of this was ever a quiet reflection of your worth, your value, or your honest beauty as a complete person. It was always a quiet reflection of their own emotional readiness and their own ability to face what they felt at that difficult time in their life. You were not replaced by someone better or more valuable in any way at all. You simply crossed paths with someone who did not yet have the inner emotional capacity to meet you where you were truly standing in honest peace. And now they are quietly standing in the honest result of their own choices, carrying the heavy weight of everything they avoided, gently delayed and left unresolved inside themselves through all those quiet months. Whether they openly speak about it or quietly choose to remain silent, that is the real, honest impact for them in their daily life ahead. Not a dramatic, loud return, not an immediate confession, but the slow, honest truth settling deeper and deeper into their quiet awareness over the passing of honest time. You were truly real, and real connections leave a quiet, lasting mark that cannot be erased by convenience, distraction, or any fine form of avoidance. They want you to truly understand that their quiet choices were never about your genuine value. They were always about their own quiet fear and their own level of emotional readiness back then in their journey. The quiet hesitation, the honest distance, and the painful inconsistency all came from deep fear, not from any lack of quiet understanding of what you genuinely meant to them deep in their heart. And now that quiet fear has been faced and looked at directly for the first time, it has left them more aware, more honest, and far more conscious of the lasting consequences of how they quietly handled something that mattered so deeply to them. They are carrying a quiet clarity that feels heavy, truly undeniable, and completely impossible to ease with empty excuses or simple explanations any longer. In that quiet clarity, they can now clearly see what they ignored, what they delayed, and what can no longer be easily reversed or quietly changed in their past. They see the real, lasting effect their silence, their quiet inconsistency, and their deep avoidance had on someone who truly deserved full presence, complete honesty, and real effort from them. This honest awareness does not come with any form of comfort at all. It comes with a steady, calm understanding that stays with them quietly, without rushing forward or fading away quickly in their passing days. Instead, it sits quietly deep within them, gently reminding them of every single moment they chose distance over honest truth and hesitation over real connection in their past. This is not a quiet request or a gentle plea for anything to return to how it once honestly was. It is not asking for reconciliation or for another chance at this time. It is simply an honest, quiet admission, a calm form of understanding that only comes after long, thoughtful reflection and real personal growth on their own honest side. They quietly recognize the real, everyday courage you showed just by being emotionally open, by directly asking for honesty, and by clearly refusing to accept half-effort or unclear, distant attention from them. And in that quiet recognition comes both honest respect and deep, quiet regret at the very same time deep within them. Real, lasting respect for your quiet honesty and your steady inner strength, and genuine quiet regret for not being brave enough to meet you at that same honest level when it truly mattered most in your connection. That quiet regret is not loud or dramatically visible in any way at all. It is quiet, deeply internal, and always quietly present beneath the surface of their everyday thoughts. It appears in late-night thoughts, in quiet, reflective moments when they cannot distract themselves from the truth, and in quiet memories they try with all their quiet strength, but still cannot fully push away from their honest heart. It continues to gently remind them of the chances they let quietly pass them by, the honest conversations they avoided, and the meaningful connection they did not protect when they finally had the honest chance to do so before. This honest feeling does not loudly shout for attention, but it never truly disappears from their mind. It stays steady and constant, quietly shaping how they now understand their past and the meaningful, honest decisions they made during that quiet time in their life. What they want you to clearly understand most is that this is not about missing comfort or simple familiarity alone in their life. It goes far, far deeper than that quietly in their heart. It is about finally honestly understanding what a real, meaningful connection actually feels like, and quietly realizing that something genuinely real cannot be simply replaced, brushed aside, or quietly ignored any longer in their daily life. In every honest decision they quietly made, there was still a quiet part of them that remained aware of you all along. Aware of the honest truth they were not expressing out loud at the quiet time. That quiet awareness never fully left their honest mind. It only grew stronger over honest time, slowly turning into a real, lasting clarity they can no longer deny or quietly avoid in their daily experience. They are not asking for forgiveness, and they are not trying to force any kind of decision from you at all on this. They are simply offering the honest truth of their quiet realization, something they were simply not able to express before this very point. This is their truth, presented in a quiet and honest way without performance or any form of quiet exaggeration. It comes from someone who finally clearly sees what was in front of them all along and now carries that meaningful understanding with full, personal responsibility. There is no attempt to quietly rewrite the past or try to make it seem different from what it actually was in honest memory. Share this video with someone who is still quietly waiting for real clarity from a person who chose quiet safety over honest truth in their own journey. There is only a sincere, quiet effort to honestly acknowledge what was truly real and what it honestly meant to them at that quiet time. The quiet message is not about changing what has already happened in their past. It is about gently accepting it fully without quietly running away from it any longer in their honest life. They are no longer running away from the honest emotions they once avoided for so very long in their quiet life. They are no longer dividing their attention or quietly hiding behind silence and loud distraction like they once did before. They have courageously faced their quiet hesitation, their emotional distance, and their real fear of being completely vulnerable with themselves. And through that honest process, they have come to clearly realize something important and undeniably true in their own quiet mind. The person they hesitated to fully show up for was always you, without any quiet question. And that clear truth now carries a strong, undeniable emotional weight that cannot be ignored by them any longer in their honest life. That quiet realization has quietly reshaped how they understand connection, honesty, and emotional presence in their daily life ahead. They are honestly different now in their quiet awareness, even if the past cannot be changed forever. Even if they never truly act on what they feel, the honest understanding they carry will not quietly disappear from them. It gently remains because they now see you clearly, not as a simple, quiet option, not as something easily replaceable, but as a meaningful connection they were simply not quite ready for at that gentle time. That honest truth stays with them quietly, shaping their thoughts and following them into future experiences where real, honest emotional depth quietly appears in their life again. What comes next is no longer guided by confusion or quiet uncertainty for them. It becomes about conscious, honest choice, your own personal choice, your own quiet clarity, and your own honest ability to stay grounded in your own quiet truth and steady, lasting self-respect moving forward in your life. Take a quiet moment now and sit fully and honestly with this whole message. Allow yourself to truly feel the honest weight of what has quietly passed and what may still be genuinely possible ahead in your personal journey. Trust your honest instincts, your quiet inner voice, and the steady inner strength you have quietly developed over time through your own honest life experiences. You already quietly know what feels right for you deep inside your honest heart. You already understand what you honestly deserve in your own quiet life. And now, with full honest awareness of both their quiet growth and your own honest growth, the next meaningful step can be taken with calm, quiet clarity, honest confidence, and steady, lasting self-respect. On the quiet surface, someone may appear fully committed elsewhere or quietly focused in another direction in their own life completely. But emotionally and psychologically, a quiet part of them can still remain gently connected to something they never fully understood or quietly resolved before in their honest life. This is not about simple, quiet betrayal. This is about the deeper, more complex nature of honest human attachment, quiet, steady fear and personal growth that quietly develops slowly and honestly over time. What makes this whole quiet situation powerful is the honest role that quiet fear plays in shaping decisions that people often do not quietly understand while making them in that very honest moment. Fear quietly influences personal choices far more than most people are even aware of in their quiet lives. Quiet fear of closeness, quiet fear of being vulnerable, quiet fear of losing quiet control, and even quiet fear of facing their own honest emotional truth can quietly lead someone to divide their honest attention or quietly avoid what they truly feel deep inside their honest heart. In those silent, quiet moments, they may quietly move toward other connections, not because of real honest love, but because of quiet comfort, simple honest distraction, or the deep, quiet need to avoid stronger, honest feelings completely. At the very same time, the person they were deeply connected to remains clearly present in their quiet thoughts every single day. Even if they do not honestly speak about it openly with anyone else, that quiet presence continues through gentle memories, silent comparisons, and honest unspoken thoughts that stay with them through it all quietly. It gently shapes their emotional world in honest ways that are not always quietly visible from the outside, but are strongly felt deep within their honest heart. Honest regret becomes a truly meaningful part of this whole process when someone quietly avoids emotional truth or gently delays a real, meaningful connection. They eventually begin to feel the honest, real result of that quiet avoidance for themselves. This honest realization often arrives quietly during quiet reflection, in moments of deep, honest stillness, or when there are no distractions quietly left to escape from their own honest thoughts. Comment real if this quiet message just hit you deep and honestly woke up old, quiet feelings from the past. Like this honest video, comment which gentle part touched your quiet heart the most, and quiet subscribe to receive more honest messages about emotional truth, real personal growth, and quiet, lasting self-worth in your honest life ahead.